Hey, everybody, we are live. Thank you for your patience, and we are ready. I'm here with John Craig from Performance Plus Tennis. I am so excited for this session because I've, been working on my serve all my life pretty much. And, there's still things to work on. And I think it was last year that John also, analyzed my serve, and he's so good at it. So we're here to analyze the serves for you. So, John, thanks for coming. How are you doing?
I'm doing just great, Marvan. Thanks for having me on. Thrilled to be part of Tennis Summit again this year, and excited to help some players with their serves.
Thank you so much, Sean. Really excited too. And yeah, I figure we could just go straight into it. And I want to thank everyone for those of you who responded to my inquiry about requesting serve clips. And so we have some clips from y'all in addition to the awesome session that John has for you later in the week that you should definitely check out as well. But John, if it's cool with you, I'll just add the your screen share, and you can go for it.
Yeah, let's get right on into it, for sure.
All right, wonderful, wonderful. Here we are.
Okay, ready to go?
Yeah, yeah.
So, first thing I want to do is just kind of outline a couple of the principles that I like to work on, so that the viewers can understand what I'm looking for and how I can help these players get their serves better. And so I've got a couple of clips here. I've got one. I just took this one of Carlos Alcaraz at the B&B Paribas Open just last month in Indian Wells. And the first thing I look for and really look at is the stance and the position of the feet, also the balance, the movement pattern, of course, and really the trophy position is a key thing that so many recreational players struggle with. And you can look at Carlos and go, my gosh, how am I ever going to do that? And I understand that for many recreational players, this is a very difficult position to get into. He's so athletic. So I can also show you examples of other players that are very successful servers that don't quite get into this. But I do look at this position because this is really where your power and your control is really going to originate. And it's, as Andy Roddick says, it doesn't matter how you get here, but you got to get here. And then from here, the sequencing of movement is very, very important as well. So we're going to get into all the footwork, the balance, the sequencing of movements, and the movement patterns. And so let me just go back over here again. I'll show you. This is Jack Draper, who actually won Indian Wells. And I'm going to flip this around and make him a righty so that we can take a better look at him here and flip him over, make him a righty. We're going to take a look, and you'll see that he gets into a really good trophy position too, but he has a lot less leg bend, knee bend, than a lot of pros do. Look at that. That's his maximum position. So I think this is very achievable for most recreational players, and this is what the key thing we're going to try to look at and get a greater understanding of, because this is where I call the fork in the road in the serve. If the ball's in the right place, here above the hand, and the balance is there, then you have a chance. But if the ball's out of position or the balance isn't right, the serve falls apart. So those are the key things I'm going to be looking at today. So why don't we go over and take a look first at our first student here. This is Scott. And I apologize, but for some reason this video came in a little bit bright. But what I'm going to do here is I'm going to pull in a video side by side here, and I will use. Let's take a look here. I think I'll go with. I will go with Carlos as no. I'm going to go with Jack as an example here. Take a look here. Actually, I'm not. I'm going to use Scott, but I'm going to use a right-handed player. So we're going to do it side by side. And here we go. Let's go with Carlos. Pull Carlos in. So let's go through this with Scott. So the first thing I noticed with Scott when he's coming to set up here is that his racket gets very flat right here. And I would be very concerned about that. We're going to talk about that more later. But for most players, you're going to see that the racket is going to be on an angle like this, and there's a reason for that. So you're a little bit on the weak side of your continental grip there. So I'm going to encourage you to get a little bit stronger with your continental grip there. We can talk about that. But when you start your serve and you come back, you're going to see the rack positions are really pretty good there. You're lifting with the left hand pretty well first. But see how you never really get into a trophy position? So we need to work on the trophy position. And I can assure you that every single professional WTA, ATP, over forever and ever, that back heel is in the air. And there's a lot of confusion about the back foot. A lot of players are trying to get on that back foot and they think the power comes from the back foot. But in order to activate that back foot, you really have to have that knee bend. You have to have that flexion. You have to be on the ball of the foot. If your heel is down, you're not going to be able to get any power. So when we get you in the trophy position, I want you to flex the right knee more, and I want you to lift that the right heel up by getting on the ball of the foot, so that you're going to match more what Carlos is doing over here on this side. I don't expect that we're going to be able to get you into this incredible position he's in. We don't need to do that, but we need to get your legs loaded more, and you're going to see that as we go along here. So what happens is you actually pick up your left foot and you move it. Look how you pick up your left foot. The only way you can pick up your foot and move it is if 100% of your weight is on your back foot. So we need to get you more neutral. So when you're going into your serve here, your feet should remain parallel to one another, and you should have a much stronger balanced position. That's the key thing we want to work on, and we'll take a look at it from a side view as well. And then when you make your move, we're going to see this here. I'm going to say this is your trophy position, because this is about the stage where your legs are starting to push up. If we compare that to Carlos, when he starts to push up, look where his racket is. It's really on his right side. Your racket is already down your back. And of course, you have a little bit of a waiter's tray, but that can clean up very, very easily if you sequence your movement correctly. So if we continue to go here, watch. Your racket's all the way down your back, and your left arm is still up. If we compare that to Carlos on the right, watch how his left arm and his leg drive. You're going to see him drive his legs, and you're going to see him pull away with that left arm simultaneously, and then the racket will fall and rise. Look at that. See that? See that? So you're out of sequence there. Your left arm needs to pull away in a semicircle so that you can, and drive with your legs so that you can actively rotate your shoulders. The angle of his shoulders are in here. Very amazing athleticism. Watch how he reverses it. He literally reverses that shoulder angle, which, again, we're not expecting to get all this range of motion, but if we collectively work on these stages and improve them to some degree, collectively you're going to get a much better movement out of your serve. And your swing is going to get better naturally, okay? So really what we're looking for here is a better trophy position and a better sequencing. So when you get in your loaded position here, this is about where I would want you to start pulling your left hand away and pushing with your legs, with the racket in this position as shown here, not back here. See how your racket's going back prematurely? What you want to have happen is have your shoulders, rotation of your shoulders activate your swing, all right?
Mm-hmm.
Literally your left hand's kind of blocking you there, all right? So that's kind of from the back view. Let's go ahead and take a look from the side view and see what you're up to over here on this side. And I will do another sequence here. I'm going to pull somebody in. Let's pull in. This is a serve I really love. I'm going to pull this one in for you. Felix Auger-Aliassime. He really presents great sequencing. So you'll see when you're in your trophy position here, you're on your back foot, picking that left foot up, and of course you've got your racket pointing to the sky. Let's just go here to Felix's trophy position. Even though he's a pinpoint server, look at the position he gets into. And clearly you can see his racket is on the right side of his body. He's got a tremendous stretch with the left arm. He's on the back heel. You can see the back heel is up in the air. He's on the ball of the foot here. You can see that. There it is for you. See that? But what I love about his movement here is how he pulls away with the left arm and pushes with the leg simultaneously, and the racket just falls and rises beautifully. See that? See that left arm pulling away? That's the action you want to get. But in order to get it, you have to get into balance first. So we need to improve your balance. Get that pull away with the left arm. Look at that semicircle pull. And then finally, here's one last thing I want to mention, and then we'll take a look at another player here, is that so many coaches talk about keeping the left hand up, keeping the left hand up. But see how your left arm is blocking you? See that? Look where his left arm is. His left arm is going to pull away, and it's literally going to be as low as the bottom of his racket at its lowest point. Look at that. The entire time the racket is rising, his left hand is down. See that? So you got to get that sequencing right so you get that shoulder over shoulder action. And I'll go back and play it again. Look at that left arm pull and the legs drive, and look at that. And then the left arm holds right underneath. Look at that. So those are the key things. We want to work on your trophy position balance and then your sequencing of your movement after that. And that's going to help clean it up quite a bit. There's some other things we can work on as well, but that's hopefully a good start for you. And let me know. You can certainly reach out and I can help you more with it. And why don't we go ahead and proceed to the next server? Any
Yeah,
questions?
John, just just some questions here.
Oh, cool.
In terms of well, actually, we do have questions, and I have one of my own. So, in terms of
Ooh.
the balance between the back and front leg, I have heard a lot of coaches emphasize the weight distribution to be more on the back leg. However, it sounded like Scott had essentially all of his weight on his back leg. So, do you have a like a rough estimate of what the weight distribution on the front and back leg that you like?
Yes, absolutely. And I'll pull up. I filmed Fonseca here too out of the desert. You'll see that literally everyone, whether they're a platform or they're a pinpoint server, you're going to see that the weight is going to be either equally distributed, which I think is great for recreational players. But I would be willing to bet at this stage right here, before he's pushed up, that he's got 60% of his weight on his front leg. You can see it, right?
Mm.
So I think that the back leg is misunderstood. I see so many recreational players with the back foot, the heel down, and the foot flat on the court, and there's just no load in that back leg. So I think you got to go for 50-50. I think some of the professional players are getting 60-40 front to back, somewhere in that range, but not fully on the back leg. Doesn't work.
Gotcha. And then for Scott, like if you were to advocate for the first step with the biggest ROI for him, what would you recommend?
That's a great question. Let's go back and take a look at Scott again
Sorry, I
here.
gotta
No, I love it. Um,
get some
I
background
would
there.
say
Yeah,
that this stage right
thanks.
here is where he gets in trouble. What Scott needs to do at this stage, when the left arm is rising and the ball releases, he needs to flex his right knee forward over the toes just a little bit, doesn't be a lot, and get that back heel to rise, so he feels like there's a load in the back leg that's balanced and equal with the front leg, so that when he finally gets to his trophy position, he's got a sense of balance that he can actually push up. And then Scott, you'll be less inclined to want to take a step with your left foot. That left foot is just, you're stepping with that left foot to try to recruit power that's missing from the balance.
Cool. And then John, sorry if you could just keep him on there because we have a couple comments. One question, one comment. Well, Kevin says, "Great tip on having the left hand initiate the swing of the right arm." I agree with that. And then Christopher, hello Chris, said, "Would he be better off beginning in the trophy position with the shoulder and elbow aligned?"
That's a great question, and for the purpose of developing your skills, starting in the half serve or trophy position is a good place to start, especially if the player is struggling to do the sequencing properly from the traditional start of the serve.
Cool, cool. Thanks a lot. Okay, great. I think we're good here. So thank you, Scott, for those clips, and thanks, John, for the analysis.
Yeah. Okay. So let's take a look at our next player here. And I think this is Warren. Yeah. Hi, Warren. How you doing? Hope you're on with us today. And let's go ahead and proceed. I always see Warren's setting up and he's doing his routine where he's bouncing the ball and he's being very deliberate, giving some thought to his serve. I like that. Let's take a look and see what he does here. That's a little unusual to kick your back leg back while you do that. It's your individual style. It just could be your body type. It's not something that we actually teach, but if that helps you get your rhythm into your serve, then that's okay. It's a little bit unusual, but let's see what you do once you bring the foot down. And I think we're going to see this once again. Watch your left foot actually rise, the heel of your left foot rise right there, while the right heel stays down. So once again, I think the key thing we're trying to do is get into a balanced trophy position. So if we take a look again here, if this is your trophy position where you're starting to make your move, your feet are really not helping you here, and we haven't really gotten you into a good balanced trophy position. So let's go ahead and do a side by side here with another player. And this is another great serve that I really like that I picked up as well at Indian Wells. And this is Holger Rune, who just won Barcelona yesterday. Congratulations. And let's just
Hmm.
go to his trophy position. Leads with that left arm, ball leaves his hand, and while the ball's rising, the left arm continues to rise. And it just feels like a lever that almost pulls him into the trophy position. Look at that. And now once again, we see the back heel is up. He's got more leg bend than I think recreational players need at 90 degrees. I wouldn't go for that. But you can also see that his right knee is lower slightly than his left. And the reason for that is his hips are at an angle and he's loading into that back a little bit. But right now, I'd say his weight is 50-50. Okay. But if we compare that, Warren, with your trophy position, see how your left arm never really gets up? So we need to get you to try to get that left arm to be vertical. And that's going to help you because the left arm is a big catalyst for creating shoulder over shoulder rotation and power. So we need to improve your trophy position because this is really where the fork in the road in your serve occurs. If your ball's in the right place and you get into a good, strong trophy position, you're going to be able to generate a lot more power. So a lot of good things are going to happen. Okay. So that's the big key thing. Now, if we move on from here, take a look. I think you take a step forward with your left foot as well. Let's go ahead and play that. Yeah, you do a little bit of a step there. And then, of course, look at your racket doesn't really gets down, does it? That's as low as your racket drop is. So we need to work on reducing your tension and getting more freedom in your swing. And of course, we've watched enough pros to know they get a tremendous racket drop. And again, you don't need to get this much range all the way down to here, this much range, but we certainly need to get you to be relaxed and have a racket drop so you could increase the racket's distance from its greatest drop to the ball. Right now, it's very, very short. Look how short it is. You're not going to get much racket at speed between here and there. So we need to get you to be more relaxed. What I'd love to see from you, Warren, is I'd love to see you rehearse your serve without the ball and just see what your motion looks like, or even throw a ball like a baseball. Just see. I bet you have a good throwing motion, but you're not inserting it into your serve. Okay. So that's the key thing. I would say let's start here. Once again, this is the stage where it either comes together or it doesn't. We need to work on getting you into a better balanced trophy position. Okay. Let's go back and take a look here once again. Good example. Doesn't have to be as amazing as we see Holger over here, but I think we need to get you into a good balanced trophy position. Particularly this left arm needs to get up there, and we need to get that back heel higher and stay flat on the front foot would be fine too. Okay. Let me know if you have any questions on that.
Yeah, that's really good, Warren. Do you have any questions? Please feel free to ask. I'll buy some time here and just say that I found that having a balanced trophy position has been a huge help to my serve. Just giving it no pun intended, but a good platform for initiating a lot of power and whatnot. So I find that so far that's kind of the theme here, one of the themes. But yeah, really good stuff. So yeah, Warren, just let us know if you have any questions. But that was really good.
Yeah, and I would just say I'm looking at Warren here a little bit more, and this will come later. But I think that when you get the left arm up and you get the right elbow so that it's in line with your shoulder angle, that's going to feel more like a throwing motion up to the ball as well. Just a simple little thing, additional thought there. But really,
and also, sorry.
Go ahead.
Sorry to interrupt, John. So, what do you think it is where you mentioned that you think that Warren probably has a good throwing motion. So, what is it that causes such the dichotomy, if that's the right word, difference between our throwing motions? Like I know when I throw the ball, I have a pretty good throwing motion, I guess. But then when I serve, it just things change. So, what's the cause of all that? The toss or what?
Well, sometimes it could be the toss, but I think it's balance too. I think that if you're off balance, you're not able to execute the throwing motion very well. And I think there's also a desire to get the ball in the box. And for many rec players, they start as beginners, and the first goal is to get the ball in the box. So then the mentality is when Warren is serving, he wants to get the ball in the box. So then over time, we just kind of do whatever is comfortable to get the ball in, but we do that at the sacrifice of getting a really good range of motion. That's why I asked Warren to be real interesting to see what it would look like if he rehearsed his serve with no intention of hitting the ball in the box, no ball, just show me what the motion looks like. I always think of the serve as a choreographed movement, and what that means is that it's a planned movement that's deliberate. And if a player can't execute the choreographed movement without the ball, they probably don't know what the movement really genuinely is. And the ball oftentimes is a interference with executing the movement because there's an underlying intention to get the ball in the box. So.
Yeah, just a great point there. I think that's a huge contributor of trying to just get the ball in the box to the breakdown in form differences between that and the throwing motion. I have coach here And one of the things that he told me, he said, especially on the second serve, you have to think to yourself, just swing, just go for it, because on the other hand, if you don't go for it, that's the cause of a lot of double faults, and or just getting destroyed on the return. So
True.
making sure that you are just going for that using that same technique, high swing speed, not trying to just tap the ball in is going to really help your technique. It's helped me a lot anyway. So uh, John, some good questions here now, which is awesome to see from Warren as well. So I'm so glad you're tuning in here live, Warren. It says, what about where the ball toss goes? More in front of the baseline?
Well, that's a great question. And in front of the baseline, yes, but not too far, because if you're too far forward, then you can only swing downward. So if we look at your contact point here, let me take a look. I think you hit a couple serves here. Let's take a look. Keep moving on here. Yes, take a look here. That's forward enough. That's forward enough. If we look at your contact position, I wouldn't say that that's really as much of an issue as how you get to that spot. You're leaning off to the left, which is good. Your head's out of the way, and you've got a pretty good angle on your shoulders here. Actually, you get pretty good considering that you really don't get that trophy position very strong, but you get a good angle there. Boy, if we could get your racket to just drop, look how low, look how it doesn't get any lower than here. So your range to the ball is very limited, but your shoulder over shoulder action is pretty good. If we could activate that left arm, Warren, and get you to relax and loosen that swing so that it has a nice racket drop like we see Holger here. I mean, obviously this is optimum, but we need to get more range of motion there. So what I like to think about is just being really loose on the right side and being firm on the left side. So in other words, when I get into my trophy position, I feel really strong here and I feel really relaxed here. Okay? So that you can get a good throwing motion going, which I'd love to see you throw the ball or rehearse your serve. I think that'd be very insightful for us.
Excellent. Thanks, John. Thanks, Warren. Another question, Mario. With a pinpoint serve, do you recommend moving the back foot forward before the toss and then the trophy position?
Gosh, I love that question. Let's go ahead and take a look here. I
Great
actually,
question.
I actually prefer that the ball leaves the hand first, and then while the ball is rising, you bring the foot up, like we see Carlos do here. See that? So it's more. You have a better ball control, ball toss control, and better tempo if the ball leaves first, and then you bring the foot in, so that by the time the big ball begins to descend, you're loaded in. Okay, and we can see that with Carlos there. We can also see it with Jack Draper here. He does the same thing. There are some players that don't, like Casper Ruud. Uh, he brings the back foot up while the tossing arm is rising to release the ball. But we'll see Jack here. He releases the ball first, and then the back foot comes up and loads in. And that's what I prefer.
Good, good, good. Thank you. Thank you, John. Really good. And then let's see, we have a question about toss height. How high should the toss be?
Well, that's very controversial, and I always have a way to go with that because I think that if, for example, and I'll give you a perfect example here. Let's play that. Let's play Jack Draper serve here, full speed. How much does it look like it drops to you, Marvan? Let's take a look at it one more time. This is one of the more fascinating things I love about the serve. How much is that ball dropping? What do you think?
Couple feet, or like foot and a half. I don't know. It didn't seem like too much of a drop.
Yeah, let's take a look. So this is one of the favorite things I love to do in my analysis. Is there's the apex of the ball, right? So the
Uh,
toss, put a line right there, and now here's his contact point,
mm, okay.
right there. And
I
then if
see.
we just if we just look at the length of the racket now, oh, I'm gonna clean that one out. If I just take and put a line here where the top of the racket is, that wasn't quite on it, and then I look at where the bottom of the racket is. Would you say that the toss was higher than that? I didn't mean to clean it all up. Let's go back. I want to get this just right. There's the top,
Sure, sure.
okay, and there's the contact. The distance between those two
Hmm.
lines is clearly longer than the racket, which is 27 inches. Isn't that amazing? It's probably
Yeah.
32 inches. It's
Wow.
probably dropping 32 inches, which is amazing because if we just watch it, it looks like it
Huh.
dropped 6 inches. Yeah.
Right, right. That's why I thought.
See,
Yeah.
it looks like it dropped 6 inches, but it dropped 32 inches. And if we go over to
Dang.
Carlos, which is just crazy, you know, he's of course he's let's take a look here. He's got a pretty good tempo, but let's take a look at his height. And well, he's definitely hitting a top spin serve here, isn't he?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He's definitely kicking this one. Look at that.
Oh yeah.
But there's the height again.
To the
So
left.
it's probably 20, 27, 28 inches. Isn't that amazing?
Yeah. 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 Racket length. Yep.
I mean, I haven't done Fonseca's serve yet. Let's take a look at his. So don't mean to get sidetracked, but I just think this is one of the more fascinating things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There it is again. Crazy, huh? So you've got a few players like Casper Ruud and Nick Kyrgios that are hitting the ball at the apex, but the majority of WTA and ATP players are tossing the ball 24 to 30, 32 inches for sure. So
Wow. Wow. It's very interesting. Love seeing that. So
yeah,
cool. Let's see a couple others. I know we have to get to the next one. Palm up and tap up to get it over the net. True. Um, let's see. Warren, great tips. Salar, what about for platform serve? I'm not sure what that's in reference to, though. Do you know, John?
what's that? I missed that.
Oh, it says, what about the platform serve? I'm trying to remember or like figure out what is that in reference to in terms of like
I
what
don't
ball
know.
toss or not. Yeah, so Solar, just clarify in your comments. Type it again and let us know what you mean. And then Pam says interesting analysis, and I know you analyzed Pam serve, John, so that's exciting. Oh yeah, oh it's right here. That's right.
It's Pam. Here's Pam. Hi, Pam. Um,
Hey Pam,
so the fascinating thing about Pam's serve is that I was looking at it, and the first thing I thought is, what am I going to say? Because
she's good.
Pam's serve is solid. Let's take a look at it.
Yeah.
He's got a beautiful setup. She comes to the back foot to start her serve beautifully, raises the tossing arm at first, which is perfect. I love this position. I love this position at the point of release. I love the fact that her eyes are looking right at the ball. And this is something that a lot of rec players also miss the mark on, is that they'll follow the ball while the tossing arm is rising from the bottom, or they'll look up in the sky. But she's looking for the ball to release from her hand, which is perfect. And your balance is perfect here. The left arm continues to rise, and now watch her load in, and that back heel will rise. We'll see it. And she gets into a pretty good trophy position here. Let me clean it up a little bit. Beautiful angle. I think your elbow could be a little higher, but it's not an absolute deal breaker. But this looks good. And I know your back heel is in the air because I saw it in the other video. And see how your racket's lagging behind your body? So your left arm's pulling away and your legs are pushing, and then the racket makes its natural drop and then rise to the ball. So lots of good things going on with your serve. I think that one thing I noticed that you could do is really be firm with that left arm right here. Rather than letting it sort of float away, make sure that you're really feeling like it's holding you firm at this stage, and it'll help you quite a bit. But overall, a pretty good movement there. Yeah, very good. Again, I'm going to look at it in real speed here too. Yeah, looks good. I'm going to go look at it from the back view too as well here, which I know is in here, and I think we can see a couple things there as well. So this is going to help the viewer see that she gets that back heel in the air right there. There's her trophy position. So this is one thing that I noticed from this angle here is that, and this is one of the most common things that recreational players do, is we want to put our racket behind our back. So we do it rather prematurely. So see how your racket's down, but your legs haven't really pushed yet. See that? And then your left arm is kind of fading off to the left. So if I just bring in like Holger again, well, just for a comparison. Look here. Here's Holger. Okay, let's go there and take a look. We're going to go to compare the trophy positions. When he's in his trophy position, his racket is clearly on his right side, and he gets that loading stage, and that left arm is still up. I would call this your trophy position, Pam, because your legs really haven't begun to drive yet. So if you wanted to create more lag in your swing, I would keep the racket forearm here and the racket more over here as well, and then keep that left arm more vertical. When the left arm pulls away, I would have it pull away more towards your target instead of fading off to the left. Watch Holger's left arm pull away and tuck. And right there, if you were able to go over to Holger and push on his hand, he would resist your pushing down on his hand. He's firm. Where your hand tends to just be floaty, and that's really going to hold you and give you power. See where your left hand is there on the left side? Keep it on the right side of you and let it hold you in position, because the role of the left arm is to be a catalyst for shoulder rotation, but then it also has the role of stopping that rotation abruptly so that the power goes right through that swing. Look at it go right through that swing. So the left arm, for many rec players, they don't focus on it enough. You focus too much on the swing, but the left arm is a big key contributor to your power and control.
Thanks, John. One thing I noticed when comparing a Holger serve with Pam's serve is that Holger's serve seems like he has a very strong like elbow, like quite high up. And I was wondering, is that something that we should think about? Should we think to lead like that with our elbow and have it high at that juncture when the racket is dropped, or is that not going to be so helpful and mess up the technique?
Well, I think it's a key element. That's a very good point. Of course, there's so many elements to the serve that it's hard to cover them all. But when he makes his
Yeah.
movement upward here by pushing with the legs and pulling the left hand away, that movement is what's going to cause the racket to fall. And then the elbow's leading up. Look at that beautiful high elbow. That's a difficult position
Yeah.
for recreational players to get into. In fact, I don't get in a position anymore where my hand is actually lower than my elbow. I don't have that position. It's just difficult to do. But yeah, you want to feel like you're leading up with that elbow, and that's going part of the sequence of movements that creates the racket drop as well. Okay, and then again, once again, I'll just mention this as well. Look at how the left hand is equal to the racket. The racket's at its lowest point in the drop, and look where his left hand is. So for those of you who are thinking about keeping that left arm up, it's actually not what the pros are doing. They're stretching it up there and getting in a great position. Best they can use it to be the catalyst to get the swing to actually the shoulder over shoulder action, the swing to rise to the ball. So. Questions?
Sorry about that. I was muted.
Oh,
Pam's question, or sorry, Chris's question about Pam serve says, Pam serving from deuce side, should her tossing hand still be to her right side when it falls?
yep, it sure should be. It definitely should not be. It definitely should not be over here. It shouldn't be visible over here at all. It should be. See where Holger's goes? It never disappears from the camera angle. Now our camera angle is a little bit different because where he's serving into the ad court versus the deuce court. But if we would just imagine that we're looking at it from this perspective, we would still see his left hand. See that? So he's deliberately using that left hand as a control mechanism. I consider the left hand the tiller that steers the boat, and the boat is, of course, the body in the surf.
Nice, good stuff. Thanks, and good question there, Chris. Pam says, "Wow, thank you so much. No problem. Good stuff, John. Already excellent presentation. Learning a lot as always. Greatly appreciate your dedication and hard work."
Thank you.
Thank you for that comment. Great stuff. Great. So cool. Yeah, I guess we can go on to the next clip or set of clips.
Yeah, let's take a look. We have got Emma here, and this is the daughter of Jacqueline, who's actually been a follower of Performance Plus for a number of years. And whenever I post something on my YouTube channel, he's like the first one to comment. So he's got his finger on the pulse of tennis big time. And
yeah,
Emma came down and did a lesson with me, but she was probably 7 or 8 years old at that time, and she's grown up quite a bit. I haven't seen her in a long time, but I did get an email from Jack a little while ago, and he said that she is struggling with double faults. So let's go ahead and take a look at Emma's serve here. So let's take a look here. What's interesting, I looked at it a little bit earlier. She kind of tinkers with her hand here a little bit. You can see that she's kind of tinkering with it there. Even when she starts her serve, it's like her grip is not secure. See that? And then she finds her grip and secures it at this stage right here. Is that a big deal? It may or may not be. It depends. Really, whether she's generally has control or not. I wouldn't teach that, but that's what it is. So let's take a look at her serve here. Now, what she's doing is she's on her back foot here currently, but before the ball leaves, she has shifted forward. See that? So we had the question earlier about the back foot moving in relation to the toss on a pinpoint. And Emma is bringing her back foot up while she's tossing the ball. So if Emma is having trouble with her ball control placement, then I wouldn't recommend that. I'd recommend getting the ball out of the hand first, then bringing the foot up. But let's take a look here and see. Okay, let's take a look. So once again, here we are. I'm going to consider this her trophy position. What I look at is the lowest point of the legs and when the legs start to push. And you can see that she's in her trophy position, but her left arm is off, is definitely off to the right. And it should be vertical. It should be strong and vertical at
Mm.
this stage. Okay. Her elbow position and her shoulder angle looks pretty good. Um, Feet position looks okay. You're a little bit turned towards the target, but it's not a deal breaker. Head position looks good. Once again, we can strengthen this trophy position, Emma, and get that left arm up stronger and straighter. Okay. Let's take a look at the next stage here. So the ball's gone. Trophy position. Notice how the racket is moving from, and this again, this is so common, isn't it? The racket's in this position, and we have our shoulder angle, and I'm going to draw that line again. Watch how much the racket moves before the shoulders have gone anywhere. See that? Your shoulders still have not rotated. Still have not rotated. Now you're starting to rotate. So you lose the lag that will occur
Mm.
when your legs drive and your left arm pulls away and your shoulders start rotating over each other. See that? And then the racket should just naturally fall. But you're losing the lag right here. So your racket's moving a little prematurely there. See that? All that movement there. I would leave the racket right where it is until I push up. And then you're going to get a lot
Mm.
more lag and acceleration naturally from that. Okay. Um, Up she goes. See how your legs are kind of rising. Legs are kind of rising with the racket going up. It actually should be, the sequencing is that the legs are rising or pushing up while the racket's falling. And that's how you get that extra stretch and that extra lag in your swing, where you're kind of jumping up with the swing upward to the ball. So you've got a great range of motion in your swing, but it's out of sequence with your legs. All right. Okay. Okay, and I can see here that your posture is a little bit broken here, and you're facing that a little too much too. So you need to work on your positioning in the contact. Um, and then one other thing I'd note here is just be careful that you don't overstretch. In reality, the contact point or the
Mm.
extension of the racket should not be a direct line with your arm. It should actually be on an angle inward like this. So slightly in. Do that. So little bit overstretched there in a way on this particular serve. Let's see you play another one here. Let's take a look here. Okay. But isn't it interesting that almost the same things are happening, Marvian? That the range of
Mhm.
motion here is really good, but the body
Yeah.
position is in the sequencing doesn't support the swing. So
Yeah.
she's got a great range of motion, but if we can clean up the just refine the balance and strengthen the position and then just improve the sequencing, she's going to pick up a lot more power and control. Now, Jack did mention she double faulted. I don't. These look like very flat serves to me, coming straight behind the ball and straight in. Um, so that maybe she's hitting very flat serves, and that's why she's not consistent. Can't quite tell. Let me look at the first one here as well. They both went in, so but I don't know if she's hitting spin when she's playing or not. It's
Mm.
pretty close though. There's a couple little things to refine here, Jack and Emma, but it wouldn't take much to really clean it up and get it so it's stronger and more reliable.
Mm. John, in terms
Yeah,
of that timing again, where you want to initiate the leg drive with the racket drop. I mean, it is pretty tough. I've tried where I've told myself, hold the racket here, and then push up and then drop the racket, but it's still tough. I mean, any tips on, how to achieve that timing?
yeah. I think that one of the key things that most recreational players do is they try to improve their serve by hitting serves. And I think that what we need to do is really understand the the choreography of the serve and the
Yeah.
sequencing and the key stages, and basically practice without the ball, because the ball is you're always going to respond to the ball. So we have to perfect the ball placement, but we have to understand the movement pattern that we want to achieve as well. Um, and I think that what happens is we place the ball up and we tend to just adjust to the ball, so we abandon some of the sequencing. That's one of the reasons why, Marban, I'm in favor more of having the ball above the apex, especially in the developmental stages. We see all the pros,
Mm,
almost all the pros are getting the ball 24 inches up. That's so they can go through the full range of motion. And then I want the movements of the contact. I want the entire movement from the trophy position to the ball to be voluntary, which means that you're in charge of it, you're in control of it. And that's so important. If we take a look here again, let's go take a look at Felix here, because this is a great view and a great movement on the serve. But he gets into this position, and believe me, his ball's way up. Look at it, way up there. But at this stage,
mm,
his movement to the ball is voluntary. Now watch the left arm; it will pull away, and this is really where a lot of recreational players make the mistake. They already have their racket behind their back, and they're trying to enter into the swing. But watch how the left arm is actually going to pull away first as the legs drive. Simultaneously, look at that, and that's the movement that creates this beautiful shoulder over shoulder action that he has. Look at that. And look how his shoulder angle matches there. But that movement right there is what most players are missing because they're not in balance right there. I love that sequence. So he pulls that left hand away strong and holds it, comes through.
mm.
So I think the answer is uh, practicing without the ball, making sure your ball toss doesn't influence you in a way that you can't coordinate and sequence this, and making sure you're trying to get into a better balanced position where you can then coordinate your movement.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you, John. So let's see some questions. Christopher, do you recommend the same foot stance when serving into both the deuce and ad courts? Do you make any tweaks?
The change in the foot stance is just because of the different angle you're serving into, but the relationship between the stance and the target is essentially the same. Just the
Yeah.
target's different, right? So it's a subtle difference because of the difference in the angle you're serving to. But I wouldn't say the position of your feet or the body angles different in relation to your intended target.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Thanks. And then Teresa, I don't see how any of us at this level can do that. I think she's referencing like Runa, for example. Good to see a strong club player who has good form that we can see and learn from. So yeah, what are your thoughts on that? Like I think you did mention that you didn't expect that we could get in, all those
Right.
positions, but yeah, any other thoughts?
Yeah, and again, I think it's important. Oh, and by the way, I got a video here. This is actually Emma's dad. This is Jack, and I think that's a great question. And I don't think it's realistic to think we're going to get into a trophy position like Holgeruna. But if we can pick up a couple of degrees of range of motion and positions through the different key stages of the serve, collectively we can certainly improve our serve performance. Uh, and along those same lines, I would say that in my experience, having looked at and worked with and coached both online and personally many recreational players, the big inhibitor is usually our mobility. So I think that even though it's not
Mm,
fun, I think if we want to improve our serve performance as recreational players, it starts with improving our athleticism and our range of motion and our strength. Key pieces to really improve. Yeah.
yeah, most definitely. Let's see here. Just one for me. Christopher is a schedule of live workshops posted anywhere. So they are at tennisfilesummit.com/sessions. However, I do need to double check if all the times are there. So that's one thing. But like as far as the schedule of like, who is on what day, that's there on the sessions page, which I think came in your welcome email. So thanks for asking about that. Chris, tips to relax the shoulder to initiate the racket, and then good thought, Mirban. So, any thoughts on that relaxation?
Well, yeah, I think that the tension or the having the appropriate tension or lack thereof is critical. And what I recommend that my students do, and I think Jack is kind of doing it here, is yeah, he is. You can see that his left fingers of his left hand are actually holding the racket. When I start to serve, I want my left hand to really be in charge of the racket and the ball. I kind of cup the ball into the throat of the racket and wrap my hand over the ball and hold the racket. And I establish the appropriate tension or lack of tension in my right hand right here in the beginning, so that when I enter into my routine here, I don't think if he does a routine and the racket floats back, he doesn't actually do that in this particular example. But when I do my routine, my racket is literally just floating behind me, and the appropriate tension is established at that stage, and then it doesn't change. It doesn't change. So that's a key piece that you got to use your left hand as much as possible in the beginning and not hold the racket tight with your right hand. And you have to hold the racket. You have to hold the racket firm enough to control it, but soft enough to be able to maneuver it as well, um, and really monitor that tension. It's really important.
Gotcha. Thanks, John. And sorry, did you have one other one? Were you going to analyze this one as well?
Well, I can. Let's take a look at Jack real quick here.
Okay, sure,
I'll tell you
sure.
something. He's definitely a big advocate. He starts his serve really nicely. His grip looks good. His hand position looks good. His weight is forward. It looks like he's ready to rock back and start his serve, which looks great. Comes to the back foot, leads with the left hand. Position here looks really, really good. Um, but he really doesn't get into the loaded position, does he? So he never
Mm.
really gets that back heel up until he's right there, and then he picks his foot up. So
Oh,
he misses the stage right there. He really shouldn't have picked that foot up, in my opinion. Now, I do know that he tore his ACL a while back,
mhm.
and he may be inhibited by his left knee. So there may be a reason why he's doing that. But he's picking that back foot up and changing his position. Now it looks like he's lined up to serve this way, but he's serving
Yeah,
this way. So he's missing his alignment there. Again, it really feeds back to the balance position, doesn't it? And then in the same stage, because this is where he's loaded in. Look where his racket is. His racket's already behind him, and
hmm,
yet he has not pushed with his legs yet. And his left arm is vertical. So at this stage, if this is his trophy position, his forearm really should be on this angle, and the racket should be approximately the same over here on the right side. So that's, again, we see the common things I see is the intention to start the swing because we're focused on making a racket drop, but it gets out of sequence with the body movement, and that weakens the whole serve. Let's take a look at what he does
yeah,
here. See, his movement patterns, his pattern of movement looks pretty good. He's got excellent coming up on edge, pronation, to contact. But what's interesting is that look where his left hand is at the lowest point the racket gets to. Remember, we looked at the pros there. We looked at all the pros. Where was the left hand when the racket was at its lowest point? It was here. So he's really not getting the shoulder over shoulder action that would trigger, create the easy racket head speed up to the ball. So he's losing power because of this missing sequence. He does get the left arm down, but it's actually too late to create the power, even though that's not a bad contact position, really, Jack. That looks pretty good. But the left arm needs to pull away sooner and get out of the way. Yeah. Okay.
Do you
Uh,
think do you
Go
think
ahead.
that John, that Jack, you know how he like brings his foot up and then starts in essentially a platform after that? Do you think he should just start in that position that he gets to like at this point? Should he just start there because he's putting his foot there anyway?
That's a great question. It all kind of feeds back to what he's for some reason he's not comfortable here. So he gets
Hmm.
comfortable in this position. Now, is that a mobility issue?
Right, right.
He's trying to recruit
I see.
power from the wrong sources. It would be fascinating if he would get into his trophy position here with the back heel up, as we've seen all the pros doing, and a little more
Yeah,
flex in the right leg, which we know his right leg wasn't the one that had the injury, get a little more load in the back leg. And I think this is where, again, recreational players tend to miss the mark. There are coaches out there that say, you serve off the back leg, but that doesn't mean the back heel is down. That means the weight is on the ball of the foot, and you've got a nice flex in the right knee. And that's just universally true with every high performance server. So that position is see the reason why he moves it is because he doesn't feel like he has any power right here. So he moves it over here to get power because he thinks that's going to help him get power. He's recruiting that movement to find a power source that he's missing right here. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
That's really good. Really good. Awesome, awesome. Thanks a lot, John. let me see if there's any other. Oh, Christoph. Hey, Christoph. Chatted via email a bit, but Christoph asks, "What should we do about breathing? Block it, breathe out during the impact."
Oh, yeah, that's an interesting question. I think that part of your in between point rituals is obviously controlling your breath and making sure you're relaxed, taking a good deep breath when you come up and you're doing your ritual and your routine, and then for me, I just make sure that I just take a nice deep exhale before I enter into my serve. I really don't even think about my breath that much. Um, but you certainly hear players and pros, strongly exhaling and grunting when they're entering into the ball. If that helps you, then do it. I personally am never been a grunter, so um, I don't. I just make sure I'm relaxed and take a nice deep breath before I enter into the serve.
Love that. Great.
Yeah,
And then Chris has a comment. Agree, John, with the ball toss being higher to allow the service motion process to flow properly, especially with the lag. I think the key thing rec players are to shadow serve without ball, as John said. Definitely on the racket drop. Yeah, I agree. Agree. John, I guess can you maybe summarize, just like maybe a key takeaway or two that, as a whole from what you've seen with these clips that players should, be aware of?
yeah. I'm going to pull up one more video here, and this is a bit of an older
Sure.
video of Federer. But what I like
Mhm.
about this is how simple it is. It has alignment. So again, when you look at his trophy position here, he is in perfect alignment. So it's not excessive. And this is really important for recreational players because we're trying to prolong playing as long as we can, injury free and sustain, and also perform well. And again, you can see that his elbows in beautiful alignment with his shoulders. His left hand is in a beautiful, strong position. From this angle, you can't quite clearly see it, but I know his right heel is up, his back heel is up. His left knee is slightly lower than his left. You can see that, which means he's got more flex in the back leg. But again, I think the key thing is I see a lot of rec players with Morband, their back leg emphasis, and they don't understand how that back leg works, and it's got to be on the ball of the foot. So that's a key thing. Um, and then I would say, don't enter into the swing too early. Let your body be the leader and let your racket be the follower. And if we watch Roger here once again, we will see how he is in this position. I'm going to put the angle here. And then watch how his left arm pulls away as his legs drive. Here he goes. It pulls away, and then watch how his shoulders just rotate shoulder over shoulder. And he's going to get up pretty high on this. And rec players, I can't do that, but you can do this without jumping too. You can definitely do this without jumping. Do that. So if I were to summarize it, for most recreational players, we need to improve this stage right here because this is where I call it the fork in the road. The serve either goes well or it goes bad. And if we don't get into a good balance and have a good ball placement, the rest of the serve is going to pretty much fall apart. It's not going to work well. And then finally, to improve these skills, I think practicing without the ball and really understanding the choreography of the movement, so every part of the movement is voluntary, if you will, is really, really important as well.
Thanks, John. One question for me again is, it seems like with Federer's, I forgot about the the others to be honest, but Federer's, when his racket is dropped, it almost seems like his chest is facing up towards the ball. I'm not sure, what exact degree, but is that something that we also should be thinking about? Is that even important at all?
Well, I think the chess is going to be up a little bit. And let's go back over here and take a look at a couple other players. I think that's we just observe. Like let's look at Alcaraz.
Like at that
Now,
point, yeah, like
that's his kick
mhm.
serve, though. Let's take a look at this one and see if he does it
Okay,
on the kick.
gotcha.
Yeah, he's going to do it. Look at that. Look how far ball that. Now, see, in order to get to that ball, he's definitely going
Mm,
to have quite a bit of. He's definitely going to have quite a bit of arch in his back, isn't he? I mean, look where that ball is in relation to his body. Oh my goodness,
yeah.
crazy. It may not be a good example. How about if we look at Jack Draper? Let's see what kind of position his chest gets into. Slightly, right? Slightly. But I
Yeah, it's
wouldn't say that
still kind
I
of
wouldn't
up.
say that's
Yeah.
something that recreational players need to actually focus on. I'd be
Okay.
careful about over bending backwards because it's a range of motion that may not be achievable necessarily. You know what I think is really important, and I haven't mentioned this at all, and I'll use this maybe as a takeaway, um, is the position of the head, and it's rarely discussed. But when all these players go into the serve, look how his head is tilting away, and it's out of the way. You see a lot of recreational players that will actually have their head more to the right here, and they'll be looking forward
Mm,
at the ball. But you really need to be to the side. And that way, when you come around, you can get your shoulder over shoulder action because your head's out of the way. Only reason he's going to get his shoulder there is by getting his head out over here. See that? So
mm,
yeah, and that's true
mm,
whether I use him as an example. If we go over to Jack, let's take a look at his head. He'll lean his head off to the right because he's a lefty. It's already out of the way, and look how it's out of the way, so he can come around and get his shoulder up. See a lot of recreational
mm,
players with their head in the way of their swing as well. So
mm. That's really good, John. John, let me know if you have to go because I know it's already past 4 o'clock. But there's a couple comments here. Let's see. Even Chris Everett grunted when she served. Okay. Oh, that's true, I guess. About her.
Chris did.
Um,
Yeah, well.
yeah, yeah. But let's see. Chris, I think platform would be less risky for rec players too. What do you think about that?
I think when you're developing your skills, platform is easier. It's simpler. It takes that extra element of movement out.
Yeah.
But if you discover after your foundation of movement is pretty sound, that you're more comfortable and natural, and it's a good rhythm for you, then the pinpoint is obviously very good. I mean, neither one of them is wrong. And if you look at the majority of WTA players, they're almost all pinpoints. Very rare to see a platform, and I would say that 8 out of 10 ATP players are. For recreational players, it's just again, I would work more on the foundational component of your serve, and then if it feels comfortable to bring the back foot up, and you don't lose control, then go for it.
Great stuff. Great stuff. Robert, when practicing without the ball, does it matter whether or not we're on a tennis court? Should we be in front of a mirror?
Great question. It does not matter at all. In fact, I think that it sometimes is better to not be on the court because then you're actually just more in touch with what you're trying to achieve. Being in front of a mirror is great. That's why there's mirrors in dance studios and gymnastics studios and martial arts, so you can actually see what you're doing because you can self-correct because you have an image of what you want and then you can actually perform it in front of a mirror, which is very, very useful. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Excellent. Excellent. Yeah. I even see, Peter grabbing like a water bottle and, just, in his kitchen or something. Even that can be effective.
Sure.
Let's see. Chris, awesome takeaway, John, especially the back heel off the floor when loading. Awesome. Awesome. So, John, really appreciate it. I know that you have some great stuff going on with Performance Plus Tennis. So, is there anything you want to mention about that?
Yeah, one of the great things I've been doing the last couple of years that has helped my students so much is video analysis because we sell courses and the players get courses and they go through the course material. But um, when I introduced video analysis, it became such an effective tool because then I can guide players to the right stages and movements, and then also guide them to course material if they choose to get the courses. But a lot of players just say, "Hey, would you just check out my serve with video analysis?" So I'm doing a lot of that. And for Tennis Summit participants through April 30th, I have a 50% discount on my video analysis program exclusively for Tennis Summit participants. So I think that link is available, and you can see that. And if you're interested in getting your serve or any stroke analyzed from me, um, you can join in on that. It's 50% off now through the end of the month.
Thank you, John. I just put the website for that, so you can just check out the chat and click that link, and then I put in the code as well, so
Yeah.
PPTTS 2025 for 50% off. It's also on the page at the bottom. So awesome, very good stuff. And then also, if you're on that live stream page, you can go down below, and I have put John's link in there if you would like to upgrade to the All Access Pass, because I mean the info today in this session alone, honestly, is worth the pass itself of the investment, because a lot of amazing things. And I know when I get, a little breakthrough on a serve, I just feel so good about it. It helps me, helps my game, my mentality. So so many awesome tips here, and also a lot of great questions here that you all asked. So I really appreciate it. So thanks a lot for tuning in. John, I'll leave you with any last words you have for the audience before we adjourn.
Yeah, again, I just emphasize working on your serve, and learning the choreography, and not trying to put the ball in the box is really the key. Because I think for the stages that most players go through is we begin as beginners and we start playing and we get the ball in the box, but then we want to improve the performance. So we continue to try to improve the performance with the similar technique that we start with. The next thing you know, that's embedded in our muscle memory, and it inhibits our growth. So the way to really change that is not necessarily to hit serves. It's actually to really rehearse the serve without the ball, and keep working on the range of motion and the movement patterns, um, and then try to place the ball into a perfect movement, because otherwise we're usually just adjusting our movement to hit a ball. Yeah, so that's your passage to improvement for sure.
Love it. Love it. Awesome. Awesome. Thanks so much, John. So again, everybody check out that link that I put in here, and also pick up the All Access Pass. Great stuff in this session. John, thanks so much. I really appreciate you coming on. And we also have your serve session on Thursday. So if you like this one, you're going to love the one on Thursday as well. A lot of just great continued analysis of five other serves. So that'll be great for you all. So thanks so much. Christoph, with these tips, Pistol P will be jealous of my new serve. I think you probably would be. But a
There
lot of
you
great
go.
fun about it. But you got to work hard. You can't. It's not just magic. You got to put in the hours, whether both on and off the court. So, John, thanks so much, and I really appreciate all your great work and service to the tennis community. And looking forward to making more content with you soon.
Perfect. Thank you. Thanks everybody.
Thank you. I will see you at the next live tomorrow. Bye.